Hi, I'm Erin Power.
And I'm Laura Rupsis.
We're certified health coaches, and this is Health Coach Radio.
This podcast is about the art, science, and business of health coaching.
We share our insider tips to help you become a better coach and entrepreneur.
And we interview expert guests to discover how they've made it in this growing field.
It's time for health coaches to make an impact.
It's time for Health Coach Radio.
Today's episode is brought to you by the Health Coach Success Virtual Masterclass. My co-host Laura and I worked hard to pull together this special online event just for you. It's a 5-day mini course in which we interview the best and brightest health coach and marketing experts on the planet to try to understand how they've become such great coaches and entrepreneurs. Included in the 20-plus expert interviews are some names you might recognize. Primal Health Coach Institute founder Mark Sisson, celebrity nutrition expert and New York Times bestselling author J.J. Virgin, author, cardiologist, and staunch health coach advocate Dr. William Davis, Michelle Liotta of Health Coach Power Community, Michelle Norris, CEO of Paleo FX and ID Life Nutrition, and many, many more. The Health Coach Success Virtual Masterclass is now available and totally free for a limited time. Check it out at primalhealthcoach.com/success. Today on the show, we have Ashley Sauve. Ashley is a certified holistic nutritionist with a passion for teaching health professionals everything she has learned about the reality of building a wellness business. As a complementary health professional living in a city with a saturated market, she quickly realized that putting together health plans was going to be the easy part. The real challenge was getting enough clients in the door. As the customer success lead for recipe and meal planning service That Clean Life, Ashley now teaches everything she has learned about building a successful health business to thousands of That Clean Life members all over the world, helping them grow and scale their own businesses bigger than they ever dreamed was possible. She delivers the goods on how to tap the networks all around you to build a client base. It's a solid episode. I hope you enjoy it. The show notes for this episode and all Health Coach Radio episodes can be found at primalhealthcoach.com/radio. Please welcome Ashley Sauve. Welcome, Ashley. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Erin?
Really good. Thank you for coming on. We're excited to learn about you, and I think you have a lot of interesting stuff to share with our listeners about a lot of different things. So, that was a very vague intro, but I think a great place to start is by you telling us who you are and why we're talking to you.
Yeah, so my name is Ashley, and I'm a nutritionist. I live in Toronto, and that's where I've been for several years now. And my backstory in terms of getting into nutrition is that I have celiac disease. Didn't know that I had celiac disease for a long time. I thought that part of life was just feeling really crappy all the time. And when I was diagnosed and able to transform my own health, like most health professionals, I became really, really interested in diving deep and helping other people change their lives. Went to school for nutrition, thought I wanted to be a dietitian, decided that that wasn't the right path for me. I wanted to take a more holistic approach. So I ended up becoming a holistic nutritionist and, went to school, learned all this beautiful knowledge, and thought that as soon as I graduated, as soon as I was certified, I would just set up my practice, clients would be knocking on my door, and I would have a business. It turned out that the reality was a little bit different than that. So I graduated, I set up my website, I set up my Facebook page, rented my office, and crickets. I was making $0. It blew my mind that people weren't just banging down my door to learn how I could help them. And it turned out that I think a lot of health professionals can relate to this. Making the health plans for your clients is the easy part. That's what you went to school for. That's what you're passionate about. Selling those health plans and booking those clients, that is actually the challenge and where you're going to spend most of the energy in your business. So from then on, it was just kind of learning how to market myself properly, how to leverage personal connections to actually get started, where to invest my time. And eventually I connected with a company called That Clean Life. I applied for a job with them as a recipe developer, and they were just getting started with offering a meal planning service specifically for health professionals. So it started out as a meal planning service for individuals, but so many nutritionists and dietitians and coaches were reaching out to them and asking, is this something we can use clinically? And I started working with them, and it became clear really quickly that that was something that was going to be really huge at That Clean Life. And now that's exactly what we do. We are a meal planning software for health professionals specifically. And I don't do recipe development anymore. Now I get to work with them as the customer success lead. So I get to help our members, thousands of them all around the world, everyone from nutritionists to dietitians to health coaches, personal trainers, all different kinds of health professionals, implement strategies that I learned firsthand and from working with our members to help them actually grow their business. And of course, you know, the meal planning, the health plans, that's the easy part, but actually building a thriving, successful practice, that's where I think a lot of us need to be putting more energy.
100%. So I was just chatting with, at an interview yesterday for this masterclass we're putting on, and we were talking about, you know, failure to launch, right? What are some of the common issues? And one of the things that come up, and Erin and I deal with this all the time, we speak to it all the time, is this, if they build it, they will come mentality, right? No, you have to build it. That's like table stakes, right? You have to have a place for people to go to, for sure. But just because you build it doesn't mean they will come. You need to draw them to you.
Absolutely.
And, right. And so many health coaches get caught up in the minutia of being a coach and not enough time on what really drives growth, right? Revenue producing activities, like getting out there and talking to people and making offers.
Yes.
Right. And so we actually have spent a lot of time on this podcast talking to people that do this online. They do it all digitally. They spend a lot of time on social media to grow it. But you've got a different idea, right? For those that maybe that's not their wheelhouse. Or maybe they want to be able to employ both. Can speak to that a little bit.
Yeah. So in this world, in this current day and age, I think this idea of building an online business is like thrown at us constantly. Pretty much anybody who has any sort of certification is being told that they can set up an online business, have passive income, which is a totally loaded term. I don't believe in passive income. I don't believe that that exists. You got to work for it. But getting in front of people, whether that's physically in front of people or digitally in front of people, I think it's the most important thing, especially at the beginning, because who you know and how they think of you is huge for growing your business. Because in order to make sales, you need for people to know, like, and trust you. And that doesn't necessarily just need to be the people who are buying from you, but it could be the people who know the people who are buying from you. So if you don't have a huge network of potential clients yet, that's fine. And that's what I'm really excited to talk about today, is all the people that you probably do have in your network who could connect you with those potential clients and help you build up that client base.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Well, let's talk about it. So who are these people?
Okay, so there's so many different ones. I'm going to start with the category that we kind of think of most often, and that is other health professionals, right? Mm-hmm. So you've got your expected health professionals that you probably know you should connect with. So if you're a health coach, you probably know that a personal trainer, a naturopathic or functional doctor would be a good person to connect with, chiropractors. But there's also a lot of unexpected health professionals who talk a lot to their clients, who you would be surprised that you can get a lot of referrals from. My partner is a massage therapist, and the massage and the therapist are like separate things. Like, you're giving a massage and you're also listening to your clients talk about all of their problems, and whether that's health, relationship, a lot of emotional stuff comes up. So having a massage therapist in your network who knows what you do, who you help, how you help them. And then when someone is on their table and it's, I don't know, January, and they're talking about how they ate so much crap over the holidays and they're feeling just so terrible, or when somebody is complaining about how they're bloated all the time and they just don't know what's going on, that your name could easily come up in that conversation. So that massage therapist could make a referral to you right there. And the same could happen with an acupuncturist, with anyone who does like Chinese medicine, or herbalists, or even social workers and therapists. So anybody who you know in your network now who is a health professional, make sure that you are having conversations with them, connecting with them, letting them know who you are and what you do. So if you have a specific niche that you work in, make sure that they know who your ideal client is so that they would recognize as soon as one of them popped up and could share your name and make that referral. I also really like to share with other health professionals like a sample of your work. So if you have a sample health plan, that's what I did. I created a little like Jane Doe health plan and filled it up with how I would treat a certain client who had a specific set of symptoms or came to me for a specific reason. And I shared that with anyone in my network who was a health professional, because I know that my work is awesome. And also because I use that Clean Life, my health plans look really, really nice. So I know that that would make them excited to refer a client to me, knowing that they would get a really high level of care.
Awesome. Health professionals, totally agree. That should be kind of number one, right?
Exactly. And that's the obvious kind of category. A less obvious category, and this kind of relates back to what we were talking about in-person versus online businesses. I really am so passionate about getting out in person, because all of this online marketing, all these funnels, all of these different software products that you need to make a sale, they are all unnecessary if you can just get in front of someone and they can feel your energy and how excited you are and how passionate you are about helping people. And they start trusting you a lot faster when you have a relationship with them. So I love reaching out to local businesses. And again, you might have the obvious ones. I know that you guys have had like a lot of CrossFit enthusiasts on your podcast in the past. So like a CrossFit gym could be a great place for a health coach to get in, do free talks, demos, workshops, things like that. But there are other businesses too. So anything like a juice bar or local yoga studios, or even places like boutique kitchen stores. So if people are going out of their way to shop at a really nice, high quality kitchen store that sells, you know, pesto that's made with real olive oil, those types of people are probably your ideal client. They're interested in implementing a lot of healthier changes in their life. And also any business that's related to your niche. So if you do a lot of work with small children, or if you do a lot of work with postpartum new moms, or even prenatal, you can look for any type of like baby stores or family stores or like kids clothing stores. I remember once I was chatting with one of our members at That Clean Life who specializes in like first foods, so like weaning babies. And she went to a clothing store for infants and ended up teaching a bunch of baby food making workshops. Like she just brought in her blender and did it right at that store. And that was a really good opportunity for her that, you know, you wouldn't think of baby clothes and health coach, but it ended up being an awesome collaboration.
I was thinking of wedding stores, like weddings,
Oh my
like
gosh,
wedding dress
gosh.
stores. You know, you go in there and these women have like a year, 10 months before their wedding. And, you know, you could, I don't know, that seems a little bit opportunistic, but I guess that's the whole point of marketing, is be opportunistic.
Yes,
Right.
wedding planners are on my list. You should connect with any wedding planners that you know. I got so many referrals from a wedding planner that was in one of my business groups, and I would never have thought of a wedding planner, but that's like the first thing they say. They start booking their wedding and then they're like, okay, I better start like eating a salad once in a while.
I know. I remember my wedding diet. It just involved no wine. Anyway, but so, okay. So I've done this before. I've gone to a grocery store, a natural food store, and offered to do a talk. And I pitched an idea and they said, well, we were actually thinking of this idea instead. And they pitched back the idea they really wanted me to talk about. And it wasn't really something that I liked talking about, but I did it anyway because I wanted to get out there. And it, of course, didn't go over that well because it wasn't a topic that I was super excited about. So how do you suggest pitching what you want to talk about to these folks?
Yeah. So we actually have a whole sample pitch letter for free talks up on our blog. If anyone wants to just Google like That Clean Life, pitch a free talk, they can. But we recommend reaching out, let them know who you are, let them know what you do. Now, that example, Erin, like that's kind of tricky because they still want you to come in, right? But they want you to talk about something that might not be 100% your passion. Depending on where someone is at in their business, any opportunity might be a good opportunity. I personally really believe in being the expert in one area and knowing which opportunities are for you and which opportunities are not. If I had learned the art of saying no in year one of being in practice, I would have saved myself a lot of really embarrassing just times when I said yes to something that I didn't want to do, and then I wasn't able to do it as well as I could have, or I kind of just ghosted the opportunity and stopped responding to emails. And you don't want anyone to have a bad impression of you. So make it easy for yourself by only doing the things you actually want to do and reaching out to the businesses you think would be a good fit. And if they come back to you and they want something that's totally different, you know, if you do intuitive eating and they want you to talk about how to calculate your macros, that might not be the right opportunity for you. And maybe you know someone who would be great for that, and you can actually nurture that relationship by saying, you know, I'm not your coach, but I know someone who would be great for that. And that person is now thinking of you as, oh my gosh, look at her. She gets all these opportunities. She gets so many opportunities. She passes some off to colleagues.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. I think that's actually really good advice. Sometimes you'll hear the opposite advice. Say yes to everything, because you never know what you're saying yes to, which, you know, that's nice too. But there's real magic in saying no to things, especially just in the optics of it. Like, oh, she said no, you know, like that puts a bit of different energy out into the universe a little bit.
Absolutely. I think about that a lot, actually, that say yes to everything versus every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else, because it's completely polarizing business advice. But I for sure took the say yes to everything so literally. And I can tell you that there are some people who probably think that I just didn't have it together because of how I handled certain projects that I really should have said no to. So take that into consideration as well.
Ditto. Yeah, especially when you're talking about giving talks, because giving a talk on a topic that you don't know or don't like is so hard.
Right.
It's horrible.
It also takes like 3 times the time investment for you to research something you're not an expert on. And even if it works out perfectly, even if your talk goes great, you book all these clients, now you booked a bunch of clients that you maybe aren't going to be super passionate about working with. Now you booked a bunch of people who want to track their macros, and your passion is intuitive eating, and you're going to resent these people. So yeah, know what you do and just stay in those lines.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I love the idea of workshops and giving talks. I just think it elevates the audience. The impression of you is that you're now the expert. It just sort of immediately elevates you in their eyes in many, many ways as sort of the expert in something. So all the more reason to stick with topics that you really are the expert in, right? And that you're familiar with. I mean, look, if they come at you and there's something that you can do it, you're not super, you don't hate it, you do know enough about it that you can speak to it. Okay, sure, I'll agree to do that, but I also want to come in and do this, right? And give you an opportunity for a 2-for-1. But if it's something that you internally are like cringing over, I 100% agree with you. Just don't do it, because inevitably it's just going to end up being a disappointment for you.
For sure. And if it's your first free talk, like, don't wait for the perfect opportunity, and don't think it has to be like the topic and the venue. Just get out there, because, you know, like you just said, Laura, a free talk will generate so much business for you so quickly. If anyone out there is feeling overwhelmed thinking about writing email funnels or something like that, you don't have to do that. You could do a free talk. It'll take you less time. It'll get you more clients. And then once you're actually making the money that you need to be making, then maybe you can invest in someone else writing your funnels for you, or whatever needs to happen there. But the biggest thing with a free talk is that make sure that you have some kind of resource that you can offer to everyone who comes to the talk for free, in exchange for like their email address, so that they can go on your newsletter, so that even if they don't take you up on an offer or book with you right then and there, they're continuing to get communications from you that are related to, you know, whatever topic piqued their interest, that they attended this free talk. And eventually we see people who sign up for an email list. It happens all the time here at That Clean Life. People who've been watching our software for years, thinking about signing up, and then it's been 2-3 years even, and they finally open an account. And it's the same thing for coaches. Someone might just need to read your blog posts, come to a couple free talks, hear from you a few times before they're ready to jump in and actually book you and go through your whole transformation package.
Yeah.
I like that we're talking about the in-person thing, because we were kind of riffing about this before we hit record, that it seems like the messaging is like, build an online business, make 7 figures, passive income, all that kind of stuff. And which is overwhelming, I think, to imagine for people who are literally at square one, like, okay, how do I leap from square one to the 7-figure passive online income? But what's really cool, I think, is that there's so many different ways of going to business as a coach. I always think that's really fun. You know, I think about all the graduates of the program we work for, thousands at this point, and they're all doing something a little bit different. So like my business is online, and I don't really have a strong appetite for going out and doing in-person speaking anymore. But lots of people ask that question, like, how do I put myself out there, and how should that look? So really great tips here. So we're gonna add that blog post, the pitch letter thing to the show notes, but also you mentioned the freebie gift that you bring along to your talk. So what are some examples of that?
Yeah, so many different things that you could do. So let's go back to that example of like you're a coach and there's a CrossFit gym in your area. And I know last week you guys did all about the keto diet. So maybe you're doing like keto for CrossFitters as a free talk, and you're just going to, at the talk, share a couple, like maybe some background information about keto, a couple things that people could do to implement more high fat, low carb meals into their life. And even better, maybe you give them some recipes that they can take home with them. So what I would probably do is put together a little recipe book of like 3 low carb breakfast recipes or 3 keto breakfast recipe ideas, and offer to email that to anybody at the talk who's interested in it if they just pop their email into my iPad. Or low tech, you could just pass around a clipboard and a pen. That's old fashioned, nothing wrong with that. And then after the talk, you can send out that short little recipe book and also maybe a little offer. I always say if you're going to do a free talk, you've got to end with an offer, because if you don't, you're doing a huge disservice to, first of all, your business, because we talked about income generating activities. A free talk is income generating activity, so you've got to find a way to convert those people into clients. It's also a disservice to the actual attendees, because if they're super engaged, if they're really excited, if they're learning a bunch, and you don't tell them how they can take the next step to actually get coaching to implement this into their lives, then are you really transforming their lives? Or are you just giving them another piece of information that's going to get lost in the shuffle of life once they get back into it? So follow up with your freebie and also an offer. I don't like discounts. I always recommend a bonus, like offer to throw in a kitchen clean out or something like that at no extra cost if they sign up for your program. But it could also be, you could do a 3-day meal plan. You could do one single recipe. You could just print it off and give people home with a recipe, provided it has your contact information on it. That's a thing we do at That Clean Life. So all of the recipes that you download through our software get branded with your logo, your business information, your website. So if they get home and they stick that keto smoothie recipe up on their fridge, every time they look at it to make that recipe, they're thinking of you. If their mother-in-law comes over and takes a picture of the recipe so she can make it at home later, then that's another potential client who's constantly thinking of you. So freebies are key.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And I love the idea of making the offer some sort of a dangler. And, I was talking to someone the other day too, as far as takers, is that offer, and that whether it's, not necessarily a discount, but a bonus, a deadline to it, right? An offer to say, like, I'm going to make this offer available to anybody participating in this for the next 2 weeks, right? Letting them, and this is why, it ends after 2 weeks or whatever. And it gives people this sense of urgency to reach back out to you and talk to you. I mean, there's a lot of people, I think, that love the idea of getting out and helping people and sharing the love and giving the information. But the minute it comes down to actually pitching themselves, right, is where they really get stuck. And that's a mindset thing. I totally get that. But the idea of taking the term pitch out, right, and replacing it with offer. I'm just offering to help, right? I'm just offering to help, and this is what it costs for my help, and kind of moving forward. Do you have any kind of thoughts about that kind of mindset switch?
I have so many thoughts about that kind of mindset. Sometimes I think it might be because this industry in general seems to be very women dominated. And I think this is something that women struggle with a lot more than men. I find that male health practitioners are just like, this is what I've got. This is why you need it. here's how to buy. And they're completely shameless about it. Whereas women, we tend to dance around it a little bit. We'll deliver this beautiful free talk full of, free information. But then at the end, when it comes to spending 1 minute asking for something in return for that, just get totally uncomfortable. Sometimes just skim over it. Sometimes don't say anything at all. And if you want to be a successful health professional of any kind, you want to be a successful coach, you want to have a successful nutrition practice, whatever it is, you need to understand that that's a business. You own a business now. And what is a business with no sales department? That is an unsuccessful business. And you are not going to have any clients if you are not able to sell anything to them. So don't worry about it. When you think of it in the terms of, like, in the context of give, ask.
Right.
So you're giving away 3 things for free before you ask for anything. 75% of what is happening in that exchange is to the benefit of the person who showed up to hear your free talk. They're getting a free recipe book, they're getting some free information, and then they're getting an explanation of how they can get a more personalized help with that if needed. So in terms of mindset, I really think you just have to, 1, put yourself in the mindset of being a business owner, because that's what you are. And 2, realize how much you're giving away for free and not be afraid to ask. And just never end a free talk, never end a sales conversation. If someone inquires and asks what it's like to work with you, do not forget to let them know about the next step that you want them to take, right? It's the call to action. It's the now what? Now, if you're ready, you can book. And if you want to book in the next 48 hours, I'll sweeten the deal by giving you a grocery store tour completely free when we start working together.
Yeah. So what I think this is interesting, and that was awesome advice. And I think maybe where people get hung up is in their own limiting beliefs about not knowing how to be a business owner, not knowing how to sell themselves because they never had to before. It's not comfortable to them. So we have this exercise that we make our student coaches go through. And it's this idea of understanding the customer experience, because at the end of the day, we're all consumers of things. And that's how I approach it, because I don't have a sales or business ownership background either. But my services are a product, and the product has a price tag, and the product has framework, and the product is like tangible. And I can relate to that because I've purchased tangible products before. I'm not going to go into the shoe store and start hemming and hawing and negotiating with the thing is a price tag. I'm going to pay it because I want it. I need it. I know the shoe, like I'm using shoes as a stupid example. I'm embarrassed that I use shoes because it's such a cliche, but I think that for a lot of coaches who hear this kind of message and this really encouragement from folks like yourself are still like, but I don't know how to execute. I think for a lot of them, it's like, understand what it's like from the customer experience because you're a customer. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think probably a really good way to think about it is also, I feel like every health professional is a health professional because they had a health journey of their own, right? Every coach is a coach because they went through something of their own. I know both of you ladies, like this is your background as well. You transformed your own health and then you wanted to do that for other people. So there are one of 2 ways that can happen. One is that you worked with a professional. So maybe you worked with a health coach of your own, or you worked with a doctor who helped you get a proper diagnosis, or you saw a nutritionist or whatever it is. The other way is that you bought a book. Right? So either way, you, in order to actually facilitate your own transformation, were someone else's customer. And now you're just asking the people who are listening to you to start that transformation of their own, to become your customer, so that in 3 years, they have this beautiful story about how a health coach totally changed their lives. I've had clients who went on to become nutritionists because they were so impacted by our work together. I feel zero guilt when I ask someone to pay for my services because I have seen that type of impact. And I know for new practitioners, it's a lot more difficult because you haven't yet. So you just have to look at your own success story and believe that you are going to make that exact same success in one of your clients.
Yes.
Thank
Great
you.
pep talk.
I love it. I love it. Absolutely. And look, you don't gain experience until you gain experience, right? You have to get out there and take on that first client, and it's really common. We hear in our Facebook group that, folks are taking on clients for free in the beginning to just kind of practice. And, I used to have an opinion on that one way. Now it's really kind of, I think it just depends on the coach what they're getting out of it. If they're honestly getting something out of it as a coach, whether it's experience, a testimonial, feedback on their program, because I've done that myself, where I built a program, but I wanted honest feedback on it. I didn't feel it was ready, so I would bring a couple people in, have them go through it, and give me some feedback. So I got something out of it, right? But if you're doing it for free just because you don't have honest trust in your own value, that's where the problem is.
And energetically, people are going to pick up on that. And my whole issue with doing things for free, I get it, I did it. In school, you have to do case studies. So that's free work already that you're doing as part of your education. And what I found is that case studies don't follow the recommendations. And I thought maybe it's just because these are people I already know, it's my friends, it's my family. Like, my sister doesn't really want to change her life. She just wants to help me with this assignment. Right. But what I have come to understand is that if people do not have skin in the game, if they do not invest something in, they are not going to get anything out. So if they're not paying, then why would they pay attention? You've automatically devalued this service. So yeah, you might tell yourself, oh, I'm getting beta testers, or I'm going to get feedback on my program. But I think you have to have a real honest conversation with yourself. Are you attracting people who are going to 100% stick to the program? Or are you attracting people who are only agreeing to do this because they're getting it for free? Because that's going to impact your outcome. You might think you have a crappy program when really you just didn't have the right people signed up to try it out because they didn't believe in it. They weren't willing to pay for it. They were just there to test the waters, and no one's winning in that situation.
Right. Even people who buy a book spend, $25 on the book.
Right.
I had a weird experience this week. A local influencer reached out to me and said, hey, I'd love to do your program. I'll talk it up on my social feed. And kind of, suggested, of course, this is going to be a free exchange. I was going to get tons of, theoretical traffic from her talking it up on her social feed. Like, it could have been really great. She's very local to where I live and lots of followers. But I wasn't convinced that if she got it for free, she would do it, and that it wasn't going to be a great billboard for my program anyway. Like, if she did it and kind of half-assed it and failed, it's like, ugh. So I really was stuck because, there's that opportunity. Those don't come up all the time, to kind of put yourself out there. But to your point, like, is she going to do it? What do you think about that kind of stuff?
I think that, the whole influencer marketing thing, I do think that there can be a place for it. I don't necessarily know that established businesses need to be doing that. I think it can be a really helpful way to get your name out there if you're new. But, someone like you, Erin, probably doesn't necessarily need that sort of PR. I also agree that if somebody starts your program, but they're not invested in it because they literally did not invest in it, it just doesn't make you look good. It's, oh, I started this program and then I fell off at week 3, and then they're getting DMs on their Instagram saying, oh, what did you think of Erin's program? Like, I'm thinking about signing up, and they don't have some miraculous transformation story to share. So really, what are they getting out of that? In what I see, and I know this is probably going to blow a lot of minds if someone is listening and they're new and they're uncomfortable charging even a few $100s for their services. But I have noticed that in this industry, the people who are charging like thousands of dollars for their services are the most successful. And I don't think that it's because they are charging more and therefore they're making more money so they can afford more marketing or whatever. I think it's if someone pulls out their credit card and spends $3,000 on their health, they are hanging off of every word that you say. They trust you so much. And even just the energy of trust and excitement going into something like that is going to impact the outcome way more than, the price shopper who thinks, oh, maybe I won't do it. Oh, but it's $50 off today. So whatever, I'll sign up and see what it's like.
Yeah. And even the marketing opportunities there, like, I just actually graduated a client yesterday who paid for my sort of higher ticket program. And she said, literally, I actually acknowledged her. I said, thank you so much for being so engaged in this. Like, it was great. You didn't miss one phone call. You shared openly. I really appreciate that. I can work so much better with that. She said, well, I paid a lot of money. And I said, right. Fair enough. But every single time she filled in her check-in form, there's sound bites and testimonials on there that I plastered all over my social feed because she was doing the work and it was working. And she was doing the work because she paid a lot of money for it.
Exactly. And there's actually so much data. I love research, and whether that's in nutrition or in marketing, I think it can be really helpful. There's so much research showing that the amount of effort that it takes to sell a $200 program and a $2,000 program is pretty much the same.
Yeah.
So if you're getting price objections, if you're trying to sign up a client and they're saying, oh, well, that's a lot of money, I'm not really sure. The issue isn't really with what you're charging. The issue is that you have failed to communicate that it is that valuable, and you have failed to inspire and build trust and get them pumped up to start this program and give it their all, because they know that this is it. After this, they don't have to deal with whatever problems they've been having anymore.
I just have one more wild thought on that. This is making my wheels turn. I thought about this before. Imagine if you had $100,000 coaching program. Imagine if you had a $100,000 coaching program. You work with me for 1 year, it's $100,000. I wonder if somebody would buy that, and you'd need one client a year.
You would for sure be able to get one client per year at that. I live in Toronto. We talked about that at the beginning, and we have I think we have the highest per capita millionaires in all of Canada. So I've had the privilege of working with some people who are living a very different life than I'd ever been exposed to previously, and seeing these people's lives from a different perspective than I'd ever been able to see before, when you look at sort of, the lifestyles of the rich and the famous or whatever. And there is absolutely a market for really, really high-end premium healthcare, especially because in Canada, and I know it's a little bit different in the US, but in Canada, our healthcare system is run by the government. And the way I always explain this is, yes, it's wonderful, because if your child gets sick, you don't have to worry about going bankrupt over it, probably. But the other thing to consider is do you like going to the DMV? No? Okay, that's what it's like to go to the doctor in my country, because it's run by the government. And because of that, people who do have disposable income are looking for better solutions. So yeah, just know your market. If you want to work with a type of client who's able to spend up to 6 figures on a coaching program, you're going to have less clients, but you're going to be spending a lot more time and energy with the clients that you do have. And there's also coaches who want to have a really accessible program and work with people who have a hard time accessing care in other contexts, and that's completely fine too. But you have to know who your ideal client is and make all of your business decisions based on that. So if you're going to launch a $100,000 coaching program, you want to make sure that you know exactly who you are selling it to.
I don't know those people.
I wish I knew those people that could spend $100,000 on my program. You're right. One client, you'd be beck and call probably, but it's one client, right, for 1 year.
Oh yeah, you'd be living in, you'd be cooking meals, you'd be doing everything.
You'd be doing it all. So, so local businesses, and what do you think about, because this is another area that I think is untapped, is just local businesses that have, I don't know, 20 employees, right? They have a place of business. They've got employees completely unhealth related, right? But these typically are small businesses who really don't have the revenue for really high level benefit packages, right? Where some sort of a wellness program would be just included, right? Going around to companies like that and offering to be their sort of wellness program and sort of making that pitch.
Yeah, we have a couple of members of that Clean Life who are doing corporate wellness really, really well. And I've actually never done it personally, but in speaking with them, I've been able to learn so much about corporate wellness and the different ways that you can work with companies like that. So offering to go in and do a lunch and learn. So the company is basically paying the cost of buying lunch for all of their employees, plus having a speaker. And that's not something that's completely out there for a company with, say, 20 employees to do, is cover lunch one day and have some kind of team building exercise. So I know one of the girls, she does a build your own salad workshop. So she'll go into a company, she'll bring all these ingredients, all of the team members get to build their own salad, and she talks about blood sugar management or whatever it is that she's talking about to increase performance in the workplace. Another way to do it is not bring the food. So it's up to the company to like get it catered or something like that. And then everyone just has lunch together and you do a talk. And there's also some coaches and nutritionists who are going into companies for like one full day, and each employee gets a 30 to 45-minute one-on-one consultation. And again, it's always because, you know, the company's footing the bill. So your selling point is that you're increasing productivity. So it's always workplace wellness that relates to job performance or minimizing sick days. So like immune system and stuff like that. But corporate wellness is a really great avenue because companies are able to pay a higher cost than individuals typically. It's an investment, it's a business investment, so they can claim it, so they're more willing to part with that money. I really think that if you're interested in corporate wellness and you have maybe some people in your network who are HR professionals, that's a really good place to start to get your foot in the door.
Yeah, and also if that's going to be a focus for those of us that maybe have families and want to be able to work normal business hours, right? Because typically many of our clients work and the time that they have available are in the morning, evenings, or like weekends, right? Versus if you are focusing your time on corporate wellness and you want to work closer to normal business hours, that would be one great way to do it.
Yeah.
I love that build your own salad workshop. That is fun.
Right?
I did a little corporate wellness stint for a while. Now I was contracted to offices through a large gym chain, and man, corporate, and I worked corporately for 20 years too. And man, like people in offices are very unhealthy, very, very unhealthy, to the point where I was doing lunch and learns talking about blood sugar management and people were falling asleep because their blood sugar was so out of balance. It's like, this is why you need this help. But what I did find, to be really like completely frank, was that the companies, although they were interested in me coming in and just talking, riffing about drinking more water and eating more vegetables and kind of those other sort of, at this point, sort of trite wellness sound bites that literally anybody could offer, they weren't really interested in me coming in and doing anything deeper than that. So I think what you'd have to do is knock on a lot of doors until you found somebody who's open
The right
to
one.
it.
Yeah, I totally agree. Even like I said, the professionals that I've spoken to who do a lot of corporate wellness, they are covering really like foundational things in their presentations because they have to cater to the lowest common denominator, right? So they are teaching like drink more water, maybe don't eat chocolate bars every 3 hours just to continue staying
awake.
Yeah. And it's also, you have to also think of it as corporate wellness it's a revenue stream, and it's not necessarily a way to get clients, because if you're being paid to go in and give some kind of talk or workshop or whatever, you may not be able to pitch yourself because the company may not want the employees to feel as though they need to now contract you individually to carry on working with you. So it's not always the time and the place to get more clients. So you really have to be comfortable with the fact that corporate wellness is going to be one of your revenue streams, but it's not going to build your business by increasing the stream of clients you have coming in the door.
Right. Good point.
Yeah. What else as far as, who other health professionals, local businesses?
I think that probably the last group that I think is often really untapped and that I feel so passionate about, and here at That Clean Life, we are so about collaboration over competition, is your colleagues. And I think that this huge influx of coaches over the last couple of years has been really exciting, but some people, and it's totally a mindset thing, do see it as, oh, well, now the market is saturated. And now I can't start my business because there's so many other people doing it. And I could not disagree with that more. I think that it's actually amazing because when I started practicing, being a holistic nutritionist was kind of uncommon. Like a lot of people didn't even know what that was. And because of that, the holistic nutritionists who were out there and had a brand, it was really easy to get clients and really easy to start building your business. However, we weren't required to niche down. And because of that, you have all these clients and you're doing like general nutrition with all of them, and you're not becoming the expert in any one given thing. And when suddenly the market gets saturated with people like that, you have to differentiate yourself. And I think the best way to differentiate yourself is to become the expert in one thing. So, I have celiac disease. So speaking to other people who have celiac disease and who have been newly diagnosed is really easy for me. And when someone gets diagnosed with celiac disease, if they've been following me on Instagram, or if they know someone who's been following me on Instagram, I get messages all the time from people just asking about that. Mm-hmm. So I think I could have a business of 100% working with people who have celiac disease, no problem. And if I got if someone who wanted to work with me was asking me, I want to lose weight for my wedding, I would have no problem saying, I'm not the right nutritionist for you, but I know somebody else who does weight loss, who has a specific bridal program, who you should totally talk to. So your own colleagues are a really great potential source of referrals for you if you partner up with the right people who know their audiences and your audience. And I actually have a personal goal of getting to a place where I refer more business than I say yes to. So as a nutritionist, I was in full-time clinical practice for long enough to know that that's not the right place for me. So I love working at That Clean Life, and I see very few clients outside of that. But I get tons of client inquiries still because I have worked with so many people, and my successful clients are still referring their friends and family to me. So every time I get an inquiry that isn't an obvious yes, I know that I can help this person and I want to work with this person in the evenings or on the weekends, I refer it to another practitioner who I know. And that has helped me build such beautiful relationships with my colleagues. So don't be afraid if somebody comes to you and you have this doubt of if you're the right person or you've never worked with that condition before, but you think that somebody else might be the right fit. Send an email to that person. Say, hey, I had this inquiry. I'm sending them your way. I just want you to know that I really trust you and think that you're the best person for this job. And you have no idea where that could lead. If that person gets an inquiry one time from a client who is your exact niche, that business could come right back to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that just goes back to kind of earlier talking about saying no to things that aren't in your wheelhouse. It's terrible to work. It's not terrible. It's not as much fun to work with a client who's not in your kind of ideal client avatar space. And so, and then, this whole idea of like rising tide raises all boats. Like, I love that reframe. Let's look at this sort of influx of new coaches as an opportunity and not just a shortcoming or a problem, really.
Absolutely. And generosity is key. Like, I've never seen anyone go broke because they gave too much. That's not a thing.
Right. That's a great point, and it goes to the difference between a scarcity mindset versus an abundance mindset. We talk about that a lot, right? Trust me, and I hear this because one of my roles here is as our admissions coordinator, and I hear this all the time. I feel like everyone's a health coach. I'm like, dude, we are so far from being saturated. It's ridiculous. It feels like it's saturated to you because those are the people you follow.
Yeah.
Yes. But your clients don't follow those people. You're probably the only person in their entire sphere that they can think of that does this, right? And you think about, I have begun to just order my groceries because going to the grocery store to me is so frustrating when I see the baskets and the types of food people buy, and I'm looking at them and their kids are bouncing off and I just want to be like, no, you don't need 6 quarts of Dr. Pepper. Put it, the need is so there.
Yeah.
There aren't nearly enough of us. And I would love to see, this is going to be, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I would love to build this like consortium.
Collective, yeah.
Yes. Of coaches that all have different specialties, different personalities, things that they like to focus on, where we can share ideas, we can refer people to each other, but we can also share in the other aspects of the business that are a pain in the ass, that take up time, whether it's marketing dollars, paying for space, content, leveraging each other's content to produce more content to share with clients. Like that's my big idea there, but girl, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I think Erin and I are both with you.
I am, although I just want to take one for the team. And by the team, I mean the scarcity mindset team.
Okay.
The team that I'm on.
Yeah.
Because it's very hard to wrap your brain around the fact that generosity comes back to you. It's like, okay, but how? Okay, but how? Because I could use, it's very hard. So I love that language and I believe it. I do believe it and I'm trying hard to believe it, but just, anybody else who's listening that struggles to believe it, I'm with you, just so you know.
Yeah.
Just shout out to my scarcity team.
I get it. I've been at the point in business too where like the thought of saying no to any dollar is like, are you crazy? Do you not know what my office rent is? Do you not know what my insurance costs? Like I can't afford to say no to anyone. But once you do it, once you say no, you give away that money that could have come to you, you'll see that it comes back to you. And yeah.
Well, my experience recently has been, I just hired somebody into my business to help manage a lot of my administrative stuff that I don't like doing and frankly don't have time to do. But I can do it. Like I could do it. I have been doing it for years, but I hired this person in and I'm paying her this salary plus a little commission. And at first I was like, boy, that's thousands of dollars I'm like giving away. But now we're 2 months in and it's like the time freedom that I have and the more like mental space I have. So like we have to reframe what it means to get and give and receive. Like what are you receiving? It's not always dollars and cents, it's other things too.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. Time is a resource, just like money is a resource.
Big
and
time.
I don't think one is more valuable than the other by any means.
Time is not renewable.
Valuable. That's right.
You're not getting time back. You can always go make more money, right? But you're not getting that couple of hours back, or, you know, in some cases, several hours back with clients that just.
Yeah, it's awesome. I literally just get on the phone and coach. I don't have to do anything else. I have to post on my social feeds, but that's it. But speaking of time, this is my awesome segue. I would love to talk about that clean life a little bit because I went to holistic nutrition school just like you did, and we had to do meal plans. And I vowed after I graduated, I was never doing a meal plan again because they're so horribly time consuming. And I also don't do recipes. I wrote a blog post, I think it was 2014, that's entitled, I don't do recipes. Don't ask me for recipes. I don't do them. So, but people want them and I can definitely see the value in it, but I just don't want to do it at all. So could you share with us how that clean life has stepped in to solve that problem?
Okay, so speaking of ideal clients, Erin, girl, you are our ideal client. So yes, I went through the same exact thing. You know, you're meal planning in school, you've got your Word document, you've got your recipe pin board on Pinterest open, you've got all your hair on the floor because you've been ripping it out for the last 3 hours. I had it budgeted once. So this is after I graduated. I continued to offer meal plans. Every 1 hour that I was spending in clinic with my clients, I was spending 3 to 4 hours on their meal plan and their, you know, notes in general, protocol, as we like to say, 3 to 4 hours. So sure, I'm charging, I think my intake appointment was like $187 at the beginning. But when you consider the fact that that was 90 minutes with the client, 4 hours sitting in my office until 9 p.m., it was gross. I was like, how could I possibly be making this little money? I thought this was supposed to be what I do for the rest of my life. And when I discovered that clean life, like it changed everything for me. So we're a meal planning software. So what we do is we make it so that you can delete Microsoft Word from your computer and close your Pinterest account and just never deal with any of that stuff again. We have an in-house team of recipe developers who are constantly creating recipes. So we have over 1,300 recipes in our recipe bank as of recording this episode, and our recipe developers add new recipes every single week. They're nutritionists and health professionals themselves, so the recipes are designed for all kinds of different diets, from like AIP to keto to vegan to whatever your clients need. So all you have to do is log in, input what kind of food you want your client eating or what kind of diet you want your client eating, any foods that you want them to avoid. And that recipe database of over 1,300 recipes gets filtered down to just the recipes that work for your client. And then you just pop them into a meal plan or a recipe book for your client, depending on your scope of practice, what they're paying for, whatever service you're offering. And then you download it or email it straight to them. What they receive is recipes that are professionally developed and photographed, so they actually like look really delicious. When I was making my meal plans in Microsoft Word, they had no food photos, so your clients are just like less excited about trying them. Everything is branded with your logo, so we are software, right? That Clean Life is a software program that you're paying to use, so it doesn't say that Clean Life on it. You're giving your client resources that have your logo, your website, your email address. Everything is specific to your business. Looks really good. The biggest piece of feedback that we get from our members is that clean life makes me look amazing, makes me look so professional, makes me feel good about raising my prices because I'm providing such a high-end final product. And then that 4 hours that I was spending outside of clinic with my clients went down to like 1 hour, which made sense. That then allowed me to start running group programs, which is a huge game changer for me in terms of scaling, because I could see 5 to 6 clients a day, but I could also have 30 to 50 clients in a group program during that same month. And that was a total game changer for my income and also my sanity, because you can only spend so much time one-on-one counseling people about food before you completely lose your mind. So it was a game-changing tool for me. I've had the honor of helping thousands of health professionals implement it into their business and seeing how much time it has helped them get back, how it's helped them bring in more clients or add a group program, or some people have even built membership sites and subscription services and really scaled their businesses versus just growing from, seeing one-on-one to group or just getting their first few clients in the door. I love it. My love for that clean life, I come by it really honestly because I used it clinically for years, and I'm just such a huge fan of it. So anyone who's feeling those same pains that Erin is, who doesn't want to offer meal plans because they're such a pain, or who's doing it right now the way that I was and wasting hours and hours of time, just know that there is a better solution. You can check us out if you want. Hop over to our Instagram. We're That Clean Life on all social, or thatcleanlife.com. We have an awesome newsletter, and I know everyone has a newsletter, but ours is actually dope. It's really simple. It only goes out once a week. It'll give you just a couple pieces of business building information. So we always write a blog post, help you market your services, help you build your practice, just answer general questions. And then we usually include a podcast episode, another blog post from somewhere else on the internet that we think is explaining things really, really well to coaches, and a piece of science. I get to hang out in the journals every week and keep up to date with the research. So as new stuff comes out, you'll be the first to know about it if you're reading our newsletter.
Oh, that does sound like a good newsletter. Dang.
It is good.
I was looking at the demo that you have, that Clean Life has on the website. I watched it this morning, and it was just like on the edge of my seat because it's like, how many times have I had a client tell me that they don't eat pork, and it's like, well, I can just exclude pork in my filter. Like the filtering options for all the recipes are phenomenal. Like, oh, I'm sick of eggs. Great, here's breakfast without eggs. Just like, oh my God, my head almost popped off. Yeah. I'm definitely going to be throwing my credit card at that after we get off this call. That happens every time we interview somebody, Laura.
I know, because we have awesome people on this podcast. I know. So I see so many applications for this, other than the obvious, the ones people that just don't want to do it and don't have the time. But then you've got a huge subset of people that can't do it, legally can't do it, right? However, if it's a resource that they procured from someplace else, from somebody who can do it legally, that's a different story. That's a big subset of people. There is still another small subset that it's still kind of legally wonky. So I have a follow-up question. But for those of us that just, we're not dietitians, we're not nutritionists, we are health coaches. This is a phenomenal, just sort of plug-in resource that I think is going to just totally change the game for those who have programs that they feel it makes sense. Clearly, if you're running an intuitive eating program, maybe something regimented like that won't work, but recipes, maybe not doing it as a recipe book rather than as a meal plan, makes a ton of sense.
Exactly. So with that Clean Life, it's meal planning software. So you log in, you do create your own meal plans. We have some pre-made meal plans, but we do not recommend that you give those meal plans on the basis of that they were created by someone else, just because at the end of the day, you're liable for whatever you give to your clients. We don't assume that liability. But anybody who can't give a meal plan could go in, they could open up that pre-made meal plan. Say you have a client who's like autoimmune, but also keto. We have an autoimmune ketogenic diet pre-made in that Clean Life, so you can log in. You can export it not as a meal plan, but as a recipe guide. So you just take out the page that lays it out where you have to eat this for breakfast, you have to eat this for lunch and dinner and snack on Tuesday. And instead you just give them all the recipes, and they're grouped by breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks. So you could give that to your client and say, here are the recipes that I would recommend for you. You can try them out. You can put together a little meal plan for yourself. And at that point, your client is self-directing their meal planning. You haven't prescribed anything. You haven't told them exactly what to eat and when. So you're not practicing out of your scope. You're just providing recipes, which is well within the scope of health coaches, I believe, no matter where you live. I think you guys can confirm that. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things I'm learning more about as I talk with more people that are in this legislative space is, even those of us that live in just the toughest states legally, there's a couple things that give you a lot more latitude. One of which is group coaching. Okay. Because there's a lot of this stuff that's illegal really is irrelevant in group coaching. And then the other aspect is in every single state, it is totally legal for you as a health coach to provide resources to a client of yours who could have found them on their own if they had your experience, your education, right? And your knowledge. If they knew where to find it, they could find it on their own. You are more than allowed to, to basically point people into that realm, right? As far as resources, because that was one of my questions. Is that Clean Life only for health professionals, or do you have a service that's direct to consumer that coaches could refer clients to? Maybe
not anymore. We actually used to. So that's how that Clean Life started. It was for individuals who just wanted to create meal plans for themselves. But as we've grown and it's just become so obvious that health professionals have a huge need for this, and you're able to get a better level of care from a health professional than on your own. We really believe in our members. I really believe that people should be working with health professionals like coaches and nutritionists whenever possible. And there's tons of free recipe resources everywhere. So it's not like that Clean Life has to swoop in and save people from not knowing what to have for dinner. So at this time, it's for health professionals only, which is a good thing too for the health professionals who are using the software, because they're able to offer something that their clients won't find anywhere else. These are unique recipes that are developed by our team, and they're provided to your client with your logo on it. So it's not like they're going to go to that Clean Life and say, hey, I could have gotten all this stuff for free or something like that.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be free anyway. Well, and I think you mentioned something that I thought it would be worthwhile to point out or pull out, because this was mentioned really clearly on the demo that I watched this morning. This is not a dashboard that clients log into. It is exported PDFs that you have and give to clients. I think that was actually news to me. That was something I was glad was pointed out specifically on the demo.
Yeah, we get asked about that a lot. So it's 100% professional facing. Your clients never log in. They don't interact with that Clean Life at all. When I was, before I discovered that Clean Life, when I was in clinic, I was approached by a couple different meal planning companies who wanted me to use their service. And one of the biggest things that I just could not handle with all of them was that my clients would get put on a list and would get emails from that company, or they would log in and they would see that company's name, that brand. And I'm very concierge with my clients. I only want them seeing my logo. I want everything whitelisted, and we're white labeled. And being able to provide my clients something that, not that I want to trick them. I don't want them to think that I developed all those recipes all night instead of, sleeping, but I just want the experience to be very streamlined, and that's what allows you to charge a little bit more for your services when you're providing a higher quality of care. So being able to just attach that into an email, or I use a company called Practice Better, which is an electronic health records software. So I just put their meal plan in with the rest of their notes and any other additional handouts that I want them to have with their protocol, and they get one neat little bundle from me, and it's just very good experience for the client.
Yeah, I love it. I love that you've got options for those that can deal in the meal plan world. Great, print it as a meal plan. Those that can't deal in the meal plan world, great, print it as a recipe book and a recipe guide. And it sounds like there's new recipes all the time too.
Every single week.
Love it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, I know. I didn't even know if this existed. Where have I been? How long has Clean Life been around?
It's actually, considering how well established we are within this industry, you would think longer, but it's only been 4 years. Yeah.
It's fantastic. Cool. Yeah, because in the past, I'm very low tech person. I would literally just have recipes that I enjoy that I've used, I would just copy paste the URL and I have it on a really long Word doc. And if
But
somebody,
that's one thing that's really cool about that Clean Life is you can actually put your own recipes in there too. Because
yeah.
I'm
Oh,
working right now.
interesting.
Yeah, I'm working with a recipe developer because I was working on building a cookbook for my program. And I was like, oh, we could just upload all our recipes into here too and, combine them with some of that Clean Life content and it's all in there.
Yeah. So if you do develop your own recipes, I mean, I don't think any health coach is developing enough recipes to support every single one of their clients' needs. But let's say you do a lot of recipe development, you can add your own recipes into that Clean Life. In that case, what we're doing is we're saving you a ton of money on graphic design services because everything's getting bundled together in the same format with your logo and your business colors and all of that good stuff. So even if you're using a combo of your recipes and our recipes, your client would never know that because
That's
everything's
right.
in the exact same format.
And what's really crazy is that, so if I enter in a recipe for whatever, this chicken soup that I make, I don't know, as I'm entering in the ingredients, it's automatically pulling up the nutrition information. And it's like in real time, I'm getting the nutrition information developed. Like that's in and of itself a massive savings of time and money because sourcing nutrition information is also kind of a pain in the, you know what.
Yeah.
And expensive, thousands of dollars for the other, like the big nutrition analysis software that is used by like dietitians. It's really expensive.
Yeah. And I can also see, I mean, just based on like when I take a look at the type of content that I post, whether it's social media or a blog post, and even my old blog that I haven't written for in forever, it's still up there, but I haven't written for it in forever. And I got to figure out, I'm going to repurpose it. Right now, it's just living still. But by far, to this day, the number one posts are all my recipes. People love food, right? And so I could totally see this as another great way, particularly if you're not a big cook, right? Maybe you're just as an at-home cook that just cooks very simply, but wants to be able to share really neat ideas for folks that want an alternative for mac and cheese. Great, here's a cheesy cauliflower recipe, whatever, right? And you can go ahead and share some of these posts in your blog. But these are just, my wheels are already turning, right? A newsletter.
Yeah, you can use it as a lead magnet. So let's say you're writing a blog post about like, I don't know, 5 ways to replace carbs with veggies or, well, I mean, carbs are veggies, but you know what I'm saying. Yeah. So you could say, need a healthy mac and cheese recipe, click here. And then that person, I mean, they could just download the recipe, but I always, always recommend that you ask them to input their email address in exchange for that free piece of content that you are giving to them so that they can go on your email list and get your weekly newsletter or whatever. You can use it to attract leads. That's huge. The first thing that we usually ask people to do who are signing up with that Clean Life, we run a nutrition business building bootcamp a couple times a year. And we have the Nutrition Business Growth Accelerator, which is a 3-week course. It's free to anybody who signs up with our yearly membership. So any that Clean Life member who pays for a year of the software gets access to this course. The first thing that we ask you to do is create a lead magnet. And we give you some information about how to promote it and get it up and running on your website. And that one thing alone, I have seen new members create a lead magnet, get like 75 people on their email list. Not a huge number. Offer all 75 of those people a 5-day free challenge, which they also created with that Clean Life. And then at the end of those 5 days, offer a group program, make back everything they spent on that Clean Life and triple that investment within 3 weeks. So a lead magnet can go a long way. We can really, really help you with your marketing too.
Wow.
It's amazing. It's an amazing tool. It's really awesome. I hope everybody goes and checks it out. Should we start talking about where to check it out?
Yeah.
And where to check you out as well?
Amazing. So yes, you can check out that Clean Life. I mean, I already talked up our newsletter. Whether or not you're ready to sign up right now, depending on where you're at in your business, you should definitely still sign up for our newsletter because we provide tons of information about how to grow and scale your health business, whatever stage you're at. You can check out the demo that Erin mentioned earlier. Just head to thatcleanlife.com and you'll be able to see a video about how everything works. And we'll also give you some information about the Nutrition Business Growth Accelerator if you're interested in taking that course. You can follow us on Instagram. We're That Clean Life across all socials, Facebook. whatever platforms you're having a good time with. And then if anyone just wants to check me out on Instagram, I'm Ashley Sauve Health, and not a lot of business information going on there. A lot of Instagram stories of my dog and whatever I'm eating for dinner. But if that's your jam, you are welcome to come hang out with me too.
Awesome. This has been really great, Ashley. I just think this is going to be an awesome, just a wealth of information across the board. And so we just really want to thank you for that, for sharing everything with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so awesome to talk to you guys. And I think that we shared some really amazing stuff. Like, we broke through mindset issues. We talked about how to leverage your network. Damn, I wish someone had given me all this information when I was getting started.
I know, right? Erin and I talk about that all the time. It's like listening to my grandfather talk about, when I was a kid, how hard life was. Erin and I are like, none of this stuff was available at all as far as resources, support, ideas, collaboration when we first started, right? So I really hope that every coach listening to this goes to check it out, because it sounds to me that there's a tremendous amount of content available just to their business. But what a phenomenal tool to stop spending so much time on the activities that are necessary that don't add revenue, and free that up to actually get out there and do the things that are actually going to drive your business and grow your business. So I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ashley.
Thanks, guys. Bye. See ya.
This podcast was brought to you by Primal Health Coach Institute. To learn more about how to become a successful health coach, get in touch with us by visiting primalhealthcoach.com/call. Or if you're already a successful health coach, practitioner, influencer, or thought leader with a thriving business and an interesting story, we'd love to hear from you. Connect with us at hello@primalhealthcoach.com and let us know why we need to interview you for Health Coach Radio. Thanks for listening.